I'm going to bring our next speaker to the stage and followed by our next panel. You already heard a small love song to Annie's, thanks to Catherine Hayhoe a little while ago. And we're going to first hear from Carla Vernon, who is president of the Natural and Organic Operating Units at General Mills, of which Annie is a part. And Carla sits at Annie's in beautiful Berkeley, California. Please welcome to the stage, Carla.
Thank you. All right, I brought a lot of glasses. People who are my age will understand. Just, you never know what you're gonna need. Hello, it's such an honor to be here with you today. Thank you, Joel. Thank you to our friends from New Hope and to the team from the Climate Collaborative for your continued commitment to bring us all together to discuss the imperative of climate change. Before I jump into my remarks, everybody who works with me at General Mills knows I'm extremely lactose intolerant, and when I found out Ben & Jerry's was going to be here today, I wanted to give you a word of thank you from me and my family. We have a fridge full of dairy-free Cherry Garcia. a freezer full. Yes, it's amazing to be back with Ben & Jerry's again in my life. Okay, let me get my clicker. I'm very humbled to be here with you today, and it's an honor for us at General Mills to have an opportunity to be part of this conversation. Growing up in a suburb of Buffalo, New York in the 1980s and 90s, I could spend hours and hours digging in the dirt. I would dig around in our front yard and look for the perfect patch of soil to make the world's best mud pies and other imaginary baked goods. And in those same years in the 80s and 90s when I was digging in the dirt, there was a groundswell in our culture and in our media with imperatives about the planet. We were being asked to give a hoot, don't pollute, to keep America beautiful, and then later to recycle, reuse, reduce, and to save the rainforest, and so much more. The connection for me between my love of soil and those imperatives stirred an urgency in me to be part of the solution. So off I went to Princeton to get a degree in ecology, followed shortly by going to work for the Nature Conservancy. In my own way, I was trying to be part of the solution. And 20 years ago, when I chose General Mills, they were beginning a journey into organic food and agriculture through the acquisition of Cascadian Farm and Muir Glen. So it felt like the perfect place for environmentally minded leaders to drive change from the inside out. Today, instead of imaginary foods made from soil, I get to work with an awesome team and an awesome set of brands that also love the soil. Through brands like Annie's, Cascadian Farm, Epic, Muir Glen, and so many more, my team and I get to have a positive impact on the health of our planet through our investments and the commitments that our brands make to soil health, pollinator habitats, regenerative agriculture and grazing, and so much more. It often comes as a surprise to people to find out that General Mills is the second largest portfolio of organic food brands in the United States. The portfolio gives us a chance to drive impact and important outcomes on climate and agriculture. But please know, I understand that it can seem like a striking contrast to see brands like Annie's and Epic with General Mills. And I must confess, it hasn't always been a seamless path forward for us. But these unique brands are influencing this 150-year-old company in new ways, particularly in sustainability and the triple bottom line. The urgency of the climate crisis is no surprise to those of us in this room or on this webcast hello webcast team. Natural disasters of the last year alone have been detrimental to our planet, communities, and many of our businesses. In particular, as a food company, extreme weather events are impacting our ability to source ingredients. They are damaging the infrastructure, and they are challenging the transportation industry that we use to get food where it is needed, when it is needed. Often, when we think about the drivers of climate change, we put the focus on those sectors traditionally associated with emissions, like transportation and energy. But the food system drives as much as 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions, and agriculture is responsible for up to 80% of that. According to the IPCC, the food industry and agriculture are responsible for more than 50% of the non-CO2 greenhouse gases. So, if food is part of the problem, and food is experiencing many of the consequences, then food needs to be part of the solution. What the food industry does matters. At General Mills, this realization inspired us to make bold public declarations followed by clear actions. In 2015, we announced a commitment to reduce global greenhouse gas emissions by 28% from our value chain by the year 2025. And just this week, we announced a commitment to partner with Gunsmoke Farms to convert 35,000 acres of conventional land into organic. And when that, thank you. I'm proud. I know my team that worked on that project, blood, sweat, and tears. I know they're here today, so thank you. It's remarkable work. And when that conversion is done, that will become one of the largest contiguous certified organic row crop farms in the United States. Along with the conversion, we also intend to implement regenerative agriculture practices on the land. Listen, the journey to get such bold commitments in our organization has required us to do a lot of influencing. And it's important to drive that influence that we have excellent communication among the key stakeholders. The teams from our newest businesses are having to drive influence with the leaders from our large and conventional businesses. And to do that effectively, one of the things we've learned is we need to move to common grounds instead of battlegrounds, to find the places where we agree. In the 20 years that we've been bringing so many of these unique new companies into our portfolio, let me tell you, they have very different individual cultures and business models, and very different business focus among them. For example, our Austin, Texas-based Epic team focuses on a meat-based business model that is grounded in a respectful and honorable life and death for animals. The Whole30 and Paleo and CrossFit crowd cannot get enough of Epic. And at Annie's, with their focus on organic comfort food, making it available for every bunny, as we like to say at Annie's, Annie's is a brand that is friends to parents and kids alike. Those brands are very different in so many ways, but the passion point for both of them is a commitment to the land and introducing regenerative grazing and agriculture practices that will restore the soil health. Quite literally, common ground. We've also learned that in order to do something big, sometimes you have to start with something small. I love the example set by Patagonia, the Rodale Institute, and the Land to Market Institute with Kernza. At first, Patagonia started a small market for the long-rooted grain Kernza with their small batch beer business. But what I know is that behind this first initiative is a big vision for Kernza. That was just a pilot program. With this same spirit, this week, we've announced a small batch project for Annie's. We're partnering with 2 Montana farmers to offer limited edition Annie's macaroni and cheese and Annie's honey bunny grams that are very innovative, that are very innovative in the industry. These 2 products are produced in a way that will allow us to specifically celebrate the particular farm, the particular farmer, and the regenerative agriculture practices on every box that have gone into every box. So with these limited edition items that we're doing with Nate and Casey, our farmer partners, we are really building a proof of concept that will help give us confidence and help us build market interest for items like these. And we can apply everything we're learning on these small projects as we scale and expand these ideas in the future, starting with something small, but working our way to something big. As we continue to drive influence and engagement on our mission, my business teams have also learned something else very important, that we will not let perfection be the enemy of the good. Sometimes, in order to do something big and unconventional, you have to be willing to start with some ambiguity and imperfection in the beginning. The announced partnership between JP Chase, Berkshire Hathaway, and Amazon to combat the growing healthcare costs in the healthcare industry is a fitting example. The companies don't have all the details worked out yet. However, they already made their commitment public, and they're committed to figuring out their way. Similarly, for us at General Mills, a few years ago, we made a commitment to source 100% of our top 10 ingredients sustainably by the year 2020. When we made that commitment, we didn't have it all figured out, but like JP Morgan, we partnered with like-minded organizations like the Nature Conservancy, Field to Market, the Alliance for Sustainable Agriculture, and as tennis legend Arthur Ashe once so aptly stated, sometimes you have to start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. In the 20 years since Cascadian Farm came to the General Mills family, we've learned a lot. That it's important to move to common ground from battlegrounds. That sometimes, in order to do something big, you have to begin by doing something small first, and that we will not let perfection be the enemy of the good. These mantras have served us well. To reverse the trajectory of climate change, we firmly believe that food matters. We also know that partnership and collaboration matter. So thank you very much for allowing us to be involved and welcoming us into the conversation. And we look forward to doing this work together.
Thanks, Carla. Why don't you have a seat? We have time for just a couple of questions. You talked about how to do a lot of these things had to require that you had some influence with the mothership.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about how you've actually influenced General Mills in terms of some of the practices that the organic and natural brands have they filtered up and now all of a sudden things are happening at the corporate level?
You know, it was so exciting 20 years ago, it would probably be even before 20 years ago, that we had a kind of leading edge leader from our own company leadership get this idea that there was this change happening in the food movement and that General Mills was going to need to be involved. That was how we first came to be connected with Gene Kahn, the founder of Small Planet Foods and Cascadian Farm. And I'll tell you, we learned our first model for influencing through Gene. Gene was trusted because our executive team knew that he was in an arena of food that we didn't bring any expertise to, and he also he tried to do it by bringing people along and helping them understand the consumer-based pull that was going to be driving this long-term change in food values. And I'll tell you, for companies like us, you're not around for 150 years if you don't make it a priority to serve the people and what the people want. And it's just that Gene was now starting to be ahead of where we were on what the people wanted. So for us, I think if we can ground all of our influence conversations in how these kind of changes and these kind of investments will help us win with the people we serve, then that always is the most persuasive way for us to go.
Yeah, Gene was quite the pioneer in this field and really one of the first entrepreneurs to sell to a big brand.
Yeah,
Not
we're
the
so
only
lucky.
one, but certainly when, of course,
so
Ben and
lucky.
Jerry and Barry Hirschberg and others
Yes.
were right along there with them. Is there something that you would wish you could, get corporate-wide that you haven't yet been able to get done in terms of a General Mills practice or approach to sustainability?
I'll tell you where I'm really heartened. I think that one of our biggest wishes from our natural and organic team is to help the company realize that while not all of our brands are N&O brands, right? We've got Cheerios and we've got Old El Paso taco kits, we have so many. That this area of climate change and regenerative agriculture is something that can be applied across our entire enterprise. And I would say that at first, like I talked about in the remarks, we needed a few sort of rebellious leaders from within to be those squeaky wheels. And I'm so glad those wheels started squeaking. Where I'm really hopeful is that I think our company management, especially led by our sourcing and supply chain folks, who are many times the first people to see the synergy and the opportunity, that we can start realizing we can take these practices to improve sustainability across all parts of the portfolio. That would be dream world for me. That's why I wanted to come to a big organization to do a lot of good. And all of our businesses won't become organic anytime in my lifetime. But I think that they can all be part of doing good.
Great. Well, we're going to have a panel now that includes one of your colleagues, Jerry Lynch, runs Sustainability General Mills, and hear
Yes.
more about what's going on. But for now, and while the panel is coming up, please join me in thanking Carla Vernon.
Thank you.